Okay, so if you haven't seen part one of this, where I started talking about my fondness for Japanese swords, and specifically in terms of how I can maintain, modify, upgrade, customize, well, don't worry about it. Also, if you decided not to watch the video because of the inherent trigger warning, I used, firearms as an analogy, I understand, and you can skip it. Let's just get into, as I said in the previous video, I'm going to take a look back at some of the weapons that I have made upgrades, modifications, repairs to, well, since I showed them to you last. So, in the previous video, I spent a lot of time on my original Shin Gunto, talking about how the ska itself failed in practice, and I had to rebuild it from scratch. Now, this is my other original Shin Gunto, and the ska is still in one piece. Now, I've had to do, some tightening, some maintenance modification, replace some SEPA and things like that, but so far, I've kept it together. However, in the video where I introduced this, I pointed out one of the reasons I got a steal on it was it didn't come with a saya. So I made, 40 years ago, a blank wood katana type saya for it, which was functional and allowed me to use it for practice, but yeah, it still bugged me enough that when I found a set of decent Shin Gunto fixtures online, I went ahead and snapped them up and decided to make this a more Gunto looking saya, finally. And I'm kind of happy with the result. However, it came with a full set. So there was SEPA, Tsuba, Fuchikashira, Minuki. What am I going to do with those parts? Well, other things I might not have been terribly happy with. Long time ago, I gave you guys a look, so I lean out of shot, of my Hanwei Practical Series. The one I really love, the one that I consider a good cutter, and the one I wasn't fond of, which is this one, the Pro, which is kind of their O-Katana. And one of the reasons I'm not fond of it is, one, it's really heavy. But more than that, the build, compared to the other ones, kind of disappointed me. The original Fuchikashira were very plain. Once the finish wore off, I could see the welds, the seams. I was not fond of the garish Minuki. The Same was just very ugly plastic, puzzle piece plastic. Yeah, I didn't like that. The original Ito was, well, plastic leather that disintegrated, but even more than that, the core of the ska, that classic Hanwei axe handle, somebody took a 1x2 board and just kind of barely rounded off the corners. It felt terrible in my hands. So took it all apart, shaved that down, made it much more comfortable, recolored the Same to something I hope is more attractive, let me know. Wrapped it in my favorite $12 suede, and put the Kabutagane, the Fuchi, and the Minuki from the Shin Gunto set on this sword. Let me know what you think. I don't know if it's done yet. I don't know if I like it. It's certainly a huge improvement, and I already had the parts, so other than buying new Ito, it didn't really cost me anything. But yeah, I don't even know if I'm going to put like a Sarute on here yet. I have a spare one, so I could put it on there if I want to, but I'm a little divided. So let me know what you think. But again, a sword with still a lot of potential, and I wasn't getting much use out of it before. I'm getting more use out of it now, so that's a good thing. Let's talk about some other upgrades. How about one that didn't necessarily go well yet? All right, so a long time ago, I did a video on this Yongli Tanto. I said I didn't spend a lot for it. For not that much money, I got what I consider a good T10 clay-tempered blade. Love the blade, don't love any of the rest of it. So one thing I've done to it since is I've replaced the Koshirai, the Tsuba, which I felt was too big, the Fuchikashira Minuki, with a set of brass castings, kind of an antique flower theme from Longchuan. And I think the look is heading in the right direction, but you're going to notice one massive problem with it. Yeah, the Fuchi is way too big for this ska core, which means I've either got to take my chances buying a whole different set of Koshirai to hope it fits, or got to build myself a new ska core, which I can do. I'm not looking forward to it, so I haven't done it yet. So maybe there'll be an update down the road. However, it's a great opportunity to segue into the subject of recycling. I took Fuchikashira Minuki off this sword and put it on another sword I showed you, my Spanish-made Marto Ninjato, right? And there are a couple of parts on this that I wasn't happy with the quality of, but put the Fuchi, the Kashira, and the Minuki on this sword from that Tanto. I just love the way they look, fit, and feel. And it's made me love this sword even more. Didn't cost me a dime. So, yeah, recycling is a thing, guys. Consider that. Now, one of the things I've learned, well, many that we'll cover as we go on through all these swords here. Yeah, I fix a lot of swords. That's something I spend my time with. But sometimes it's just like one piece is all I've got to do. And, yeah, sometimes it takes multiple tries. One piece I tend to replace probably most frequently that does a lot for a sword is the Tsuba. So referring back to a video I did on Musashi Silver Series Katana, I still believe that for the money, you get a good 1060 clay tempered blade that is pretty well balanced and the fixtures are functionally decent, comfortable for me, but the ones at least that I selected, I was never happy with the Tsubas. Now, this is my Musashi. Came with a really thin stamped die cast. Yeah, I hated it. Love the rest of the sword, how it felt, balance, everything. It's gotten a lot of use. I put the Dragon Shinto style Tsuba from my Kawashima on this one. Put another Tsuba on that one. So yes, it's still in one piece. And I just like it all that much more. So, yeah, didn't cost me any money. Just did some part swapping. However, you can spend a lot of money on a Tsuba or a little money on a Tsuba, depending on what you can find and what you can get. And like I said, you'd be surprised what they can do for you. Anyway, all right, let's get that back on the rack and show you another one. Yes, there are a lot more swords over on this side of the studio. One day maybe I'll show you guys that. So forgive my dodging out of shot, like I said. Silver Series in the same video, the Unokubi Zukiri. I expected more out of this one. I expected to love it more. That beveled profile, I figured would give the sword really good balance, and it didn't quite. Compared to the same sword, the last one I showed you, that has a Shinogi Zukiri with a full bohi, that sword is lighter and better balanced. It's lighter by a couple of ounces, actually. So this sword is just, it's very slightly crowbarish. I didn't expect that, so I wasn't a fan. And I absolutely hated the Tsuba that came on it. Die cast, painted, yeah, it was ugly. It's now a coaster. However, getting online, Amazon, Longchuan Shaoxi I have a lot of different parts, but one thing they've got on a couple of pages is about 40 odd different iron alloy Tsubas. So for this one I selected this hexagonal. It's very thick, but not very wide. Geometric. I think it matches the kind of bamboo mat pattern on the existing Fuchikashira, so I didn't have to change anything, because I like the rest of it. But yeah, adding that little bit of extra mass has significantly improved the balance and feel of this sword, so I love it a lot more now for a $16 investment and about an hour worth of work fitting it. Now that's actually something you want. You don't necessarily want something that just drops on the first time. You want to be able to take the time with some fine files just to shave off a little metal at a time until you get it just right. Now it's too big and too loose. There's other stuff you could do about that. You can look it up online. But yeah, $16 investment and about an hour's worth of work. I feel like I got a different sword, better sword. Let's talk about a lot better though, shall we? Another review I did. Musashi again. Bamboo Fast Cutter. I didn't give it a good review. I wasn't a fan. Part of it was I think I got a lemon and the monouchi was blunt, but that's another thing I've learned how to do over time. I certainly don't have, artisan skills at repolishing a sword blade, but I can reasonably re-edge or hone one or fix cosmetic damage. It doesn't wind up leaving me with an ugly mess. So yeah, I managed to get an edge back on this and it can cut. However, the design with this double shallow bohi, yeah, compared to a one large bohi, This is a heavy blade. It feels like a crowbar, a baseball bat. I didn't like it. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I didn't think I was even going to keep it. But, well, I hated the Tsuba. It had a little badly cast Hamadachi on it. It was very thin. Pulled that off, and from that Longchuan Shaoxi iron collection, I picked this. It is kind of a Musashi design with that double loop, double lobe. A little bit more going on here, but it's also kind of got a chrysanthemum theme to it, and I think it fits the existing Fuchikashira Minuki, even though those are bamboo theme. Those are really nice, so I didn't want to swap those. But yeah, just changing this one part has significantly improved this sword to the point where now it is a pleasure to use. So yeah, I take it out a lot and cut with it now. Before, I didn't even want to keep it. So yeah, big change. I like that Tsuba so much, by the way. I got another one because a while back I reviewed it was a very popular review, actually. I guess you guys are into Tachi. The Lyuesword Tachi, and I love the Lyuesword Tachi. I think I really got a good sword for my money. But one of the things I didn't like about it, the Tsuba that came on it was this really thin brass one that every time I even tried to take the sword apart, it would bend. It was that thin just from trying to push the sword apart. So I got the same Tsuba, put it on this one, and I think it fits aesthetically, but it just makes the sword also feel just that extra sweeter for me. So again, not a big investment, not even a lot of time in the work. I think it was worth it. All right. I've done a couple more like that. I've already kind of shown you this one. This was a sword again. I loved it out of the box, except for one thing, the Tsuba. This is the Ryujin Ko Katana. I love everything about this sword, but that thin, die-cast, terrible Tsuba. So from that collection, I picked this nice round one, which matches the Tsuba from my Hanwei Practical, and I just love it. Did I need to improve the way the sword felt or handled? No, but just the cosmetic change was worth $16 to me. So yeah. All right, back to big changes. For even less money, shall we say. Sometimes it's more about the labor. Musashi again. It sounds like I have a thing about Musashi, but actually, behind me on the rack there, you'll see the Gold Series ones I reviewed. One day I will do a recap of swords I haven't modified and love the way they're out of the box. Yeah, those are going to be on the list. However, this is the Musashi Silver Series. It's an earlier version of Silver Series that was their Kogarasu Maru, right? Their little crow's beak. I got it on a whim, thinking I would really like this, and I really hated it. Well, why? Well, one thing, minor thing, on the Tsuba was a really loud, garish English Musashi logo. I have since put a couple of lines, grooves in there. Erase that one day. I may just replace the Hibaki. But also the Fuchikashira, yeah, and the Tsuba, a lot of sharp edges, points in the casting. Rounded those off. Feel like I did so without, wrecking anything. It kept the aesthetics. But the worst part for me, the ska core, it's like a full-size Maglite. It looked like it ate two other swords. So I popped it apart, found some problems in the Nakago, some burrs and things like that, and some fracturing starting in the ska. Repaired that, thank God. Then took about a third of the wood off the ska core. And got it slimmer, reshaped it, gave it a nice taper and a nice waist in the middle, just the way I like them. Rewrapped it in my favorite, $12 suede Ito from Amazon. And yeah, I don't do the best wrapping job. I admit it. I'm learning. Been working on it for a while, but maybe it's the patience behind it or whatever. But I think I do a reasonably passable and functional job on my Ito wraps. And for me, Ito, it's a functional part that needs to be, like other parts of the sword, replaced with wear and tear and damage. So it tends to get changed out frequently. Again, a thing I can do myself to at least a functional quality. Yeah, so it's a little uneven in the diamonds. I'm okay with that. But, result. I didn't know what I was going to do with this sword. Hated it. I really love it now. I really, really love it now. It feels just so good in hand. It's one of my favorite swords now. It was about a day's worth of work. And like I said, 12 bucks for the Ito. What about repairs that don't cost any money? What can you get out of those? Well, there's a couple of things, a couple of cheats that I have. For instance, one of the things that's very common and actually happened with a number of these swords, and even some of the ones I don't consider modified, saya fit. It might be too loose, it might come loose with wear and tear, it might be too tight. These are things you can fix in various ways with a little bit of craftsmanship and not exactly necessarily any expense, unless you're replacing like horn or other custom parts. Just a little tightening and maintenance. Or it might be a matter of replacing some seppa to tighten up a sword that's coming loose, or there's some tricks to tighten up a skakor that's coming loose, or repair a crack before it gets bad, like, you got a chip in your windshield and you want to get on it before it gets worse and costs you a whole windshield. There's little tricks you can learn, and we can certainly discuss those in the comments, or maybe you can look them up online. But cosmetically speaking, way back at the beginning of my YouTube career, well, it's not a career yet, but maybe one day it will be with your support. Thank you guys again. I did a couple of Lyuesword reviews, and I gave the Lyueswords really good reviews, and I stand by them. I think for the money, you get a good quality sword. You get a really nice, attractive blade that's extremely sharp. If you're looking for something for cutting soft targets, this thing's a razor. I wouldn't take it to any hard targets, so it doesn't have that kind of meat. But yeah, selective use. I also think I really like the feel of their skas, even though you might think they're a little bit slim for your hands. I like the aesthetics. The bang for the buck is really high. However, one thing I have to admit is the fit and finish. You get what you're paying for there. There were ledges specifically on Fuchi and Kashira on all three examples. So taking some time, files, mallets, polishing compound, reshaping them. Now they line up really, really cleanly. And they look like much higher end swords. It didn't cost me anything but time. Okay? Okay, before I move on, I do want to apologize for those videos, though. Those original reviews, if you've seen them, I'm sorry. I mean, the sound quality was horrendous, and it's still not great. I'm still working on that, but yeah, I spent 90% of those videos saying over and over again. They're pretty unbearable. So one day I may go back like George Lucas and redo it. They're embarrassing. Hopefully I've gotten better. Let me know, please. Let me know I'm heading in the right direction with you guys here. All right. A couple other free fixes. Similar. Gave a really great review to this Ryujin Shingunto. It's a great sword, especially for the stunningly little amount of money. But one of the things I complained about was the look of the brass parts. It was very bright. Also, compared to my higher end version, the edges were kind of muddy on the castings. So getting in there with some fine chisels and files, I made it just look more attractive. Kind of the same thing they do when they hand make these things. So I'm learning how to do that. But then I kind of gave them a little bit of an antiquing, a little bit of a patina, and I think that just does it for the sword. Again, didn't cost me anything but time. One more, I promise, and I have to reach above my monitor because it's sitting on the wall in a place of honor, and you may be a little surprised. And I owe somebody an apology. Maybe a couple of somebodies. It's also got a lot of hits. My Ryansword Tachi, I didn't give it a very good review. I did the unboxing and then I did the bigger review. And frankly, I was butthurt because I thought I was getting a Sanmai Damascus blade for a suspiciously little amount of money. And what they sent me was either a T10 or a 1095 mono steel clay tempered blade. And I mentioned in that video, I think they did me a favor because this is actually a tough blade. Once I've honed it up, it's a great cutter, and it's also, well, it's tough. Taking it apart, not only is the Nakago very well finished and engraved on both sides, I'll post a picture, but it goes all the way down to here. And no problems, cracking flaws in the skakor. So yeah, this is a tough sword. Now, Ryansword, well, I was also a little upset because the first couple of replies to me were, yeah, kind of angry making, but after that they stepped up, and I mentioned it I think in the comments following up on that video. They did pay me pretty much the difference between the mono steel and the laminate blade. So thanks, you know, they made an effort to make it right. They stepped up. A couple of other things, though, I wasn't keen on the sword. The quality of the koshirai. Some parts were not very well fit. Others, you know, the castings weren't very clean. So again, taking some time with some basic tools to tighten some things up and also crisp up some of the castings by hand. Yeah, massive improvement, didn't cost me anything. Speaking of saya fit, I did a little work on this one, and result... wow, that's some pretty positive lockup. Again, didn't cost me a dime, and I think I got a good sword, especially for the money. Yeah, this gets a lot of use now. I really do like it, and I haven't replaced any of the parts yet. And I probably won't. I kind of like it now as is. So, I hope that, well, this little whirlwind trip down memory lane was at least informative, entertaining, and maybe inspiring, so you can consider what you yourself might do with a sword that you're willing to, you know, maybe consider taking a risk on. You don't know what kind of quality is. You know, I talked about unboxing. I don't really know what I'm going to get until I have it in my hands and then put it to use. But I have the comfort to be able to make changes, upgrades, repairs, modifications, customize. And just even stuff like this, it makes the sword so much more near and dear to my heart to have that personalized touch. So maybe you found this inspiring. Otherwise, as usual, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you guys for watching, and see you again for the next one.